everybody. Welcome to the Sharon and Joe Show. My name is Sharon.
Hey, my name is Joe. I got my hands full with the Dunkin' Donuts in my left hand and the Jolly Rancher in my right hand. Did you guys ever try the sour Jolly Rancher gummies? They are so good. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
they are really good. So Joe and I, because we don't have a sponsor for the show, we have resorted to the patheticness of pretending we have a sponsor. So the Sharon and Joe Show is not brought to you tonight by Dunkin' Donuts. How does that sound?
Yep, that's yeah, you hit it spot on.
Yeah, Joe and I, as some of you may know, Saturday night. So I know it's Monday, but Saturday night is when we make our video, and we both have our Dunkin' Donuts. We splurge and get our coffees, and and we sit in the garage. We have our fans around here. We have our chickens and the dogs, and it's good.
We're living a high life and we're paying $3 for like a large coffee, but Sharon's got the Donuts app, which justifies us from time to time to be able to pay for the coffees.
Yeah, we got a free one tonight, and so Joe's like, "Which size do you want?" I'm like, "I'm getting the large. It's free."
Yeah, no doubt. I'm with you.
So, anyways, you know, on the Sharon and Joe Show, probably the most common. Well, what we're going to talk about tonight is related to the Sharon and Joe Show in a way. Probably the most common comment I get, whether it's in the comments or in emails, is people will say something along the lines to me. That's great that you can be in a relationship, but I couldn't do that. Like after what happened to me with the narcissist, it's not possible. And tonight, Joe and I are going to talk a little bit about trust and moving forward, and basically you can trust again.
Yeah.
You can, is what we're going to talk about.
And what helped clarify the topic for me was moving forward doesn't mean getting in another relationship. I think moving forward is not allowing the narcissist to limit your choices because what happened to you.
I feel exactly the same way. Like when it comes to my ex, over my dead body, is he ever going to control anything else in my life? So not everybody wants to be in a relationship, and that's fine. Not everybody wants to have kids or do whatever. Like that's fine. That's cool. What we're talking about is if you would want to, but you think, I can't risk that again. And you live this life that you don't have to live because of something that happened to you in the past.
Yeah, if you're in a place where it'd be nice, but there's never again. We're talking about like staying open-minded and not shutting doors permanently to say never again.
Joe and I, our relationship started a little bit different because it wasn't a situation where, say, I met Joe somewhere and he asked me out to dinner or to do something. And because if that was the case, I think immediately, like, it would be something romantic from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Joe and I, we met on the telephone. You know what I mean?
From many states away.
Yeah, Joe.
There's a safety factor involved.
Exactly. Joe is a subscriber, and we connected in the comments. We had a phone conversation. Neither of us thought it was going to be more than one phone conversation, and it went on. But we were still friends for a long time, so we were able to form a trust. And I don't know if it would have been different if we had just started dating.
Something I wanted to bring up, and I don't want to go off topic, but the trust, the building relationship with God and trusting God before you could trust anybody else, for me, was like vital.
Well, you made a good point. We were talking about this earlier, and I think this is the key to this. The real secret, and this kind of surprised me a little bit as I was going through the recovery. Well, first off, I knew I was kind of going through a recovery, but I didn't really think of it that way. I was just improving my life. And you have to work on yourself first, because you had said before, Joe, like if you don't work on yourself, if you just jump into another relationship, you are more than likely going to end up with either another narcissist or someone else from Cluster B. And what do you always say, switching seats on the Titanic?
Yeah.
But if you work on yourself, you can have a whole new life. Like, everything can improve vastly.
We could parrot the words like I'm not a victim, but if you do the work, and you'll see that even though you said you weren't, you were. Because part of that shadow work involves us taking a look at ourselves in the role that we played and the entanglement that we were in. And if you don't think you played a role in it, then you're missing. And it's like an onion, and you keep peeling back a layer and a layer, and you start to get down to your codependency, your own childhood trauma, your low self-esteem, why you allowed things to happen, how you were just as delusional as a narcissist and self-seeking, and all these things.
Well, Joe, you were the one that really got me to that key level in my recovery, because you were the one that you had asked me about my role in it. And at first I was very offended when you said that.
That's how narcissists get. You know how like when they have to even 1 second like take a look at
Yeah.
themselves and the insight, immediately that self defense mechanism kicks up, and it's just they just retract it. It's just like boom, no.
No, that's true. And you know what I think it was? Well, you know this. For me, it was just, and I guess for everybody, probably the majority of people, the narcissist is so messed up. They're like, I don't know, like a, what, how can I even say it? They're like a bomb going
It's
off.
like a lightning storm, thunderstorm versus a tornado.
Yeah. And so here I am, and Joe's asking me, like, what was my role in it? And I was like, what do you mean, my role? Didn't I tell you I was with a narcissist? But once I really accepted that and I thought about it, and that got me probably through the recovery, because I
It
do
was
feel like I'm on the
last
other
time. You were
side.
like
Yeah.
right at the last leg. That was one thing that God wanted you to take a look at. And there's so many things that you helping with, but that was it for you to be able to say, "Holy crap, yo, why did I allow that to happen?"
Exactly.
And wow, I played a part in this, and it gets scary because then you got to start to forgive yourself. But then you start to look at, man, there's these things in me that I got to change before I even think about doing anything else.
But the thing is, once you get to that point, because, you know, at first I was offended when you said that. What do you mean? As I went through it, though, that got me to the other side. And now it's, you know, Paris and I were talking about this the other day, and Joe and I have spoken about this. We're different people today than we were. And I feel like we're better people today. So it's not, and this is like a messed up thing to say, but in a way, it's almost like, because you were in such a horrific situation, you can now be the best version of yourself. Because if, say, I was with, say, my ex was like a nice guy, a decent guy, and I just went on with my life, I never would have been able to become my authentic self, because I wasn't even thinking of myself in any other way.
The way I would describe it is that we were perfectly broken.
Yeah.
Like perfectly broken in a way for protection or for perfectionism. I mean, God Himself loved to come in and to start to mold us into what He wanted us to be.
Now, for you and me, I think we helped each other get through everything that we needed to get through. And so for us, you know, and I think also because we weren't dating at first, we didn't really date for a long time, we were able to trust each other because it was safe. But I really think that if I had gotten through my complete recovery, I could have been in a relationship with you sooner. Like if you live nearby, or I think I could, because I would trust myself. I would trust like how I could be in a relationship, what I wanted, what my needs were, what I expected from somebody else. But before, I think just my codependency got in the way of that.
And I was so far away from God. It was
Yeah.
like to the point like, how the hell did I get here? You know, and that to trust, you learned to be able to trust yourself again. When you do that inner work, at least in my experience, my mind's rewired where in just about unconsciously every big decision or experience that I have is going through that like corrected thought process where logic's involved, and now I know to like listen to my gut instinct when that doesn't catch. It's like the catch net. It just unfolds and it becomes natural, and you you have the gift of discernment, and you're able to have wisdom and look at your experience, always remembering like that nobody's perfect. And I don't like that they have such a positive overtone on the word empath. Like, I was screwed up, man. You know, it's just you have an open mind to let the universe bring to you what is gonna while you're going out there and just seeking, you know, just to live.
All of us have been crushed and devastated by the narcissist. I mean, that's just a given. But once you go through the recovery work and you are your authentic self, you're the best version of yourself. Now, for Joe and I, it was really important that God has been a central part of this. When I was with my ex, I always believed in God, but I didn't have a real relationship with Him. As I started going through the recovery, and this was with you, Joe, because you were integral in this. Joe and I believe that God like really played a role in this. I've gotten to the point now where I can tell you, I don't make any decisions without talking to God first. Joe and I call Him Dad. It's really Joe, myself, and God like together.
Triangle.
And yeah, it's like the triangle. And you guys, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. So I think for anybody who wants to be in a relationship, if you go through the recovery and you have a relationship with God, you can count on yourself, depend on yourself, and you could have a relationship like nothing else. It's almost like the narcissist can benefit you in that way.
And for those that don't want to be in a relationship just because they enjoy being single and like pursuing their dreams and activities, God bless them, but never is it where you're limiting your choices out of fear, because that's not what life is about. Like all of us, I believe in some way, shape, or form, at least in my experience, I faced my greatest fear with the narcissist. And
Joe said to me so many times, like if I'm upset about something, he'll say, "How can you be upset about this? You've already been through something so much worse." And I think that's just like something to
a
consider.
reminder is like
Yeah.
you could use your past to like help reinforce your faith.
Yeah.
Like I have to do it to me all the time. Like it's going to be okay, Joe. Like look at the jackpots that you got yourself into the past before you met the narcissist. Look at the major jackpot you had when you were entrapped with the narcissist, and God made sure you're okay the whole time. So what are you sweating about this for?
And I agree with what you said, Joe. I mean, if you don't want to be in a relationship, hey, more power to you. Relationships aren't everything in the world. It's just the thought when people have left comments saying that they can't do it, that's great for me, but they could never do that. You can have such a rewarding life in so many ways. It's horrible. Like, it's weird to say this, like I said earlier, but it really is. I feel today, right now, almost like I'm a completely new woman. I've been born again after going through the recovery work. And I see that in Joe, our kids, like everybody's kind of rising up. That's why we have like the phoenix as our little symbol there.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is.
I came from a broken family, you guys. I mean, it was bad. My childhood. Sharon came from a real screwed up family. Our kids saw us in quote unquote marriages where my own sons were like, I don't ever want to. I'm never getting married, because of how this worked. But God has a way to show how much power and love that He has to bring together two people from opposite ends of the globe, a family that's blended, and our kids get to bear witness of God's love and His mercy and His beauty, and we're in a healthy relationship that I didn't know nothing about health, like as far as relationships or anything like that. It's truly an experience that I have a good friend that asks all the time, like, "Hey, how's Sharon doing?" And I'm like, man, dude, I'm so grateful. Like, it's just incredible. I didn't think it could exist.
No, I felt that way too. And I think that happens to a lot of us, because typically, and this isn't always, but it's not uncommon for people to grow up in like abusive or dysfunctional families. And that's what you know. Like Paris, when she's made videos with me before, she's mentioned that, she didn't know anything else. She thought fathers were always like every father was like her father. And she mentioned in the last video that she's like, oh, well, Joe does this thing where he actually seems to care. She didn't know that fathers were like this. So for us, we grow up, we are in this dysfunctional home. We don't know. Like my parents do not have a good marriage at all. My father's a narcissist. My mother's codependent. There's no happiness in that home. It was misery my entire life. I couldn't wait to get out. Then I get out and I'm thinking that I met somebody who was very different than my father, because that was a very conscious choice for me. I couldn't be with somebody like my father. And I thought I hit the jackpot because he was so different. What I didn't realize was that my father's an overt narcissist, my ex is a covert. So essentially, I married my own father, and I was reliving everything in my childhood. It wasn't until I got through everything and I worked on myself and I became the best version of myself. And now I'm in a healthy relationship.
And it's weird because, like, many people benefit from our relationship, like our children, especially our pets. Like, everybody around us benefits from, like, God bringing us together. Now, we have our disagreements and things like that, but it ain't nothing, like, compared to, not even close to what it was before.
But imagine if you and I had been afraid to start a relationship.
Or even worse, like imagine that we were afraid and therefore we closed that door. We're like, no.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Imagine if
it
it,
ain't
yeah.
happening. I mean, I've not experienced like truly like what love is.
Yeah, well, I feel the same way. And it's all because we had enough faith, enough hope to move forward, even though it was scary. I mean, what we did was
Not recommended.
no, I agree.
No, I mean, it wasn't. And Sharon and I would laugh because it's like, imagine telling our friends like what we were doing, and you could say to like, oh, good luck, but in the back of our head, like, oh God.
Joe and I met in person 2 times before we moved in together. We moved states away. I moved my entire whole household, kids, animals, chickens, everything into Joe's house, and this could have been
A nightmare.
an unbelievable disaster. But really for us, and I think this is what it is for anybody if you're moving forward, if you trust God, like everything, like I have not made a decision in several years without consulting God, without having God. And now, like with you too, Joe, like I will talk to God, I'll talk to Joe, every single decision. And this is like for real. Every decision
Yeah,
I make
you're the real
is
deal.
God based. So I have a confidence with that. But I wasn't always like that. That's why just people can change. People can do whatever they want in life if you are willing to go through. Because sometimes people will say, oh, it's so painful to go through this process. Yes, it is. And Joe and I here, we're talking about our happy ending, but it wasn't always like that. There was a lot of pain along the way, you guys.
And a lot
of pain.
And a lot of practice still today because our chapter's not over with. You know what I mean? So it's like constantly it's like maintaining and building on our spiritual growth because that's all that's left. You wipe away everything else. The only thing that's left is spiritual growth, self-worth, which is like a worth in God, and it's still like a work in progress that we're doing, but it definitely is. And Sharon's like being totally honest with you guys. Like we call God Dad because we believe in having like a realistic like family, and that's the way He wanted us to talk to Him. We talk to God. We don't pray. We talk to Him, and we laugh. And Sharon's a lot better at it than I am because I'm so busy, you guys, like working every day. I'm always on the fly. But Sharon literally will be like, "Stop before you leave. Let's talk to Dad. Make sure and it's so healthy for me. It's just really good."
Yeah, I never leave the house without talking to Dad. I'm like, Joe, wait. But we're raising our kids like that too. That's normal for the kids. My kids, they know this. His younger son, like he has a very close relationship with God too. And I feel like that element of our family, God, we live in this house, right? And God is at the center of everything. The other day I was in your son's room because I was using the mirror, and he has like Bibles stacked up like right next to his bed. Like that's normal. That's normal for our kids now. But that wasn't how it was with my kids earlier. Was that how it was with you, with your kids?
No, I met my ex when I was in recovery from alcohol, and I was serious about my sobriety, and she wasn't. And I was about 9 months sober, and I was very much into building a relationship with God. And somehow, some way, the 20 years of that entanglement, at the end, I was like, God didn't move, I did. And man, was I far away. It was scary. And you guys, I still am afraid. There's days that I still bitch and complain at Dad. And I recognize it, and I'm always like, be grateful, Joe, looking for the blessings that you have. I'm human, you guys, but I know like without that, I'm just a coward.
I don't think I could get through my life without God at this point. I mean, He's so integrally a part of my life. And I didn't call on God. I started being sick. He came. Yes, He did.
Even for me, I was like desperate and humble as hell. Like He heard me because He heard me crying out there, and He saved me. And you guys, everybody has their own conception of God. Like there's this power that's much bigger than ourselves. Like utilize that and work on it and grow. Even if it's like a God of your misunderstanding, like He will manifest Himself, or she, or however you want to pronounce God to be. But without that trust, just a little bit is all you need in Him, then I'm at a point where I don't always know what's best for me. And that's not a good place to be.
Well, I think really the point here, and this is for anybody, because
it's possible.
Yeah, like that. Yes. If you don't want to be in a relationship, if you don't want to do whatever, that's good. Like more power to you. But if it's because of fear because of what happened before, do the recovery. And the recovery sucks. Like it does. It's painful. You guys, I went through, maybe I can talk about this. I've talked a little bit about it on the show. God first came to me. He just came. He came and got me. When He first came and got me, I didn't know this. Now, like in retrospect, I went through 4 months of absolute agony and hell when he first came into my life. Like, it was terrible, because God will put you through it, not because he's mean or, he's trying to hurt you, but because, I'm a big Derek Prince fan. I love him. Joe knows I listen to him every day. He's a pastor. He passed away several years ago, I guess 20 years ago now, but I listen to his sermons on YouTube all the time. If I'm on YouTube, I'm listening to Derek Prince. And he said, like, suffering is the soil for growth. Like, it sucks that it has to be that way, but sometimes you need suffering. But
and it's not God's making you suffer.
No.
He's looking at, like, he's making you look at your own decisions and how you got in the jackpot. And yeah, he's not giving you anything other than he's trying to bring those dark things that are preventing you from, like, making contact with them into the light so that you can see them.
And everything can change when you start listening to God. Oh my geez, like, you guys, like, I cannot tell you this strongly enough. I am a completely different person. I don't even think my ex would recognize me today. Like, not physically, but just internally. I'm a new woman. God did that to me. He blessed me. He gave me a new insides. And so for anybody who thinks, I can't do this, or that's not for me, work on your relationship with God, with Dad, because then once you are your authentic self, you don't have to worry so much about being in a relationship with a bad person, because you'll have discernment. Like I told you, I don't make any decision without consulting God and Joe, right? But it's always God first. Then I'll tell Joe, I was talking to Dad, this is what I think about this. What do you think? And we'll literally stop and pray together about it, and he'll give me his opinion after he consults with God. So we have all these layers of protection around us. That's not to say that we could never be hurt or that Joe and I never fight, but it's like...
Fear is replaced with courage.
Yeah.
Like, when you're at that point, it's like, I have faced my worst fears with this narcissist. And if you believe in spiritual warfare, and that your God saved you because we were beyond human aid, and you're at that point, then you put on your armor and your breastplate and your shield and your sword, and you go out there and you live your damn life.
Oh my God, Joe, you said that so perfectly. Joe and I just hate to have anybody crippled by the narcissist. Like, you are permanently disabled because the narcissist hurt you. And I get it. I do. Like, you want to be safe. You don't want to when you finally have your peace, when the narcissist finally is not there, the last thing that you want to do is mess up your life. But I'm telling you guys, you can have the life of your dreams.
If there's a yearning, like, what would it be like to meet another person, whatever? You don't got to go looking for it or anything like that. But if there's any yearning or calling for that, maybe, just don't say never. And if God, like, you love being single and having that peace, then cherish it and hold on to it. And
well, the whole thing is to have the life of your dreams. You know what I mean?
With your choices, without being limited because of what happened to you. Like, then you're defining, like, your abuse. You're defining what happened to you.
Don't let the narcissist control your future. I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you. I'm going to greedily keep Joe to myself right now because he's been gone so long. So now I'm going to have Joe all to myself, but thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you guys for all your comments and stuff too, a lot of you. I don't want to say names because then I'm going to forget one, but you know who you are. I do read them. They are encouraging. It's been working 7 days a week, and not having any security for the future other than, okay, Dad didn't bring me this far to drop me on my head. I got through my worst fears. I got through alcoholism. Like, this is small stuff.
It's no joke starting over, you guys, but it's worth it. It really is. So yeah, we're working like crazy, especially Joe, but we're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it. So thanks for all the encouragement. I love you all.
I do too. And now we're going to go and drink our Dunkin' Donuts, right?
Yeah, and we got enough caffeine to stay up for another half an hour before I pass out on the bed.
All right, you guys, I will see you on Wednesday. God bless you.